Oh.
Please move Karen from attending to the panelist room.
So we'll get started in a minute.
Are we able to, oops. John, are we going to be able to share stuff on the screen if you're a participant?
I'm hoping I think Sam's working on shifting over the hosting duties.
Okay. And are you going to be the host, or is it John Woodruff?
I would think me.
Okay. Freezing today.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Sam. All right, let's get started. I thought I saw everybody on attendance. Tonight we'll be covering the Revenue, Council, Clerk, Mayor, Legal Department, Judgment Claims, Public Safety, Policy, Parking, Animal Control, and Fire Departments. So why don't we start first with, let me share the, lets me share content, but not the screen for some reason. I've been on tech support with WebEx today.
John, I don't have a share button either, so
It's not letting me share the screen for some reason. It's only allowing share files.
And how are you doing share content?
It's on the bottom. There's a share content button.
Yeah, but yeah, mine's not letting me share anything. So
Yeah, me neither.
It's actually not highlighted for
yeah,
all
mine's
of
not
us.
highlighted.
It's really just highlighted for the hosts.
Right.
So the
Yeah, but-
hosts have to let you in somehow,
I
John.
thought it's a
No, we're in, but it's only letting us share a file or a new whiteboard. It's not allowing us to share the screen.
doesn't allow me to share anything. Oh,
Yes.
you got the whiteboard. How'd you do that?
I click share whiteboard, but I don't think that's what we want. Can you see the budget?
No,
No,
No.
John, just move the budget over to the screen here.
I did. It doesn't show. All right, here, I finally got it. Thank you.
And how'd you do that?
I don't know what happened, but the option changed. So now you should be able to see the budget as well as the questions.
Yeah.
All right. So, Mr. Ferrari, why don't you kick us off with an overview of the budget, please?
All right. I wanted to share some stuff with you guys, but I guess I'm not able to. But before we got into the 2021 budget, I wanted to review the status of the 22 general fund balance.
I stopped sharing, so maybe you can share your content now.
Yeah, and where would you go? On the bottom?
It's on the bottom. It says
Yeah.
mute, start video, share. Click on
Yeah.
share.
Yeah, I get nothing. Yeah, mine's not highlighted at all.
All right. Let's see if we can,
Is that whiteboard yours?
yeah.
Okay.
Sam, would you allow Anthony to be a co-host or host?
Sure, yeah. You are now the presenter. Okay, sure, okay. Okay, other applications, whiteboard. This is not even Microsoft Office. Okay, other applications, share file. I want to share a file. How does it won't let me go to my file I want to share.
Open your file on the on your computer, Anthony, and just share your screen.
Okay, thank you. Can you guys see that? Fund balance analysis?
Yes.
Yes, we can see it now.
Okay, very good. All right, before we go into the 2021 budget, I thought I first want to review the status of the 2020 general fund balance. At 12/31/2019, as you can see, the fund balance was split into unreserved and reserved, and gave us a total fund balance of $14.3 million. That's an audited figure. That is very correct. Throughout the years, January through September, we did do some reserve changes. As you can see, what we do is we reduced the reserves, brought them into the unreserved. So at October 1st of this year, our unreserved balance was 11,000,005. We have 2.8 million of reserves, and again, our total fund balance is 14.3 as we go along. Now, what I want to talk about is our estimate of revenue and expenses for 2020. Now, through a lot of calculations, a lot of different scenarios, and my staff and I, we came up with the estimate of 2020 revenues at 75 million 0.6, and our expenses at 85.7. And as you can tell on the revision, that's we're estimating a 2020 deficit of $10.1 million. Now, as you know, that deficit's got to be made up by our unreserved fund balance. So at the end of the year, we're predicting to have a unreserved fund balance of 1.469 of a fund balance. But as you see on page 4 of the 2020 revenues, we are going to appropriate 1.428 million of the fund balance for the 2021 budget. So I just wanted you guys to know, because I hear you always talk about the rainy day fund, but we are estimating at the end of 12/31/20, the rainy day fund of only having $41,424.88. We are going to have some reserves, and that'll be the balance.
Excuse me, Anthony, can you,
Yes.
I'm trying to write these numbers down as fast as possible, just,
Oh.
so you said at the end of 12/31, we should have 41,000 what?
$41,424.88.
Won't we email these, Anthony? Didn't we?
I was just going to say that.
Yes,
Yep.
we'll email these figures, Carmel.
Yeah, I'll email them to you. And on the tab, it has the revenues and expenses to show you where we got these numbers. But we are looking at a $10 million deficit. Now, if you want to, if just for the financial reason, if you look at the notes, our revenues budgeted was 91 million, and we're estimating 1775 million. We're looking at a revenue shortage of 15.5 million. And then our expenditures of 91.4, we're looking at 20 expenditures of 85.7. So we're cutting the budget by 5.3 million, 5.4 million. That still gives us $10 million deficit. So before we go into the 2021, I just wanted to let you know what we're looking at going into that budget. We're actually looking going from 14 million to $4 million total of fund balance, with 2.8 of it reserved and only 41,000 available to use. Ooh, yeah, that was very tough to do. So I also want to mention that in 2020 we did borrow, in fact, last month, $7 million a TAN, which is the short-term borrowing for cash flow purposes. And the reason why we borrow that is so that we can get through this process with making sure everybody gets paid and our bills get paid. But you got to remember that $7 million is not a revenue, it's a liability, and we do have to pay it back. Our plan is to pay it back over 5 years. Hopefully, if we do get a surplus or money from the federal government, we're going to pay it off as soon as possible. But in this 2021 budget, we do not have a principal payment. We do have an interest payment, but not a revenue payment for that TAN. All right, now we can go to the 2021 budget. The 2021 proposed budget is 4% less than the final adopted 2020 budget, or $3.6 million less. In this budget, we are reducing staff levels by 63 people, which is estimated to save us about 2.99 million. It's about $3 million. It does have a tax. It does have. Okay, let me just try to get you some more stuff here. It does have. Want to get you, show you this other stuff here. It does have a tax increase, and the tax increase is right. Can you guys see that?
Yes, thank you.
Say the tax increase, and this is what we sent to the state for our property tax cap levy, and we'll be right at the top. So we still be within the tax cap, but it'd be right at the top level at 31,413,411. Now that is a tax increase. It would increase from 1277, which we have now, to 1313, which is a 2.81% increase. That's only 36 cents per thousand. Let me just show you something else here. I'm trying to get all these forms, I'll tell you, and I will email all these to you. And this is how we come to the tax rate. So we're looking, as I said, that we're looking at a tax levy of 31,413,411. We have the taxable assessed value as of 9/28/28 of $2,039,000. Here's our proposed tax levy, and there's our tax rate, 1313, which is 36 cents higher compared to 2020. It's a 2.81% increase. Now, besides increasing the tax and the tax rate, we're also planning on increasing the waste collection fee by $4.17 a month per unit, or $50 a year per unit. Okay, the proposed tax plan, the proposed budget also has in it the amortization. Do you guys have that? The amortization.
Yes.
We plan to amortize 1,145,000 of police and fire overtime. And as you can see what the increase was from 2020 to 2021. We went from 9 million to 11 million. It's a $2 million increase. And just want to show you that this is the actual bills that we're receiving. So let me just turn these and rotate the views clockwise. So this is the 20 payment for a regular ERS is 1.9, and the police and fire was 1.2 for 20. For 2021, ERS goes up to 2.1 million, and the police and fire goes up to 8.9 million, a $1.7 million increase for police and fire. And so we were able to amortize 1.1 million right here, this $1,145,738, and that's our plan to do that in the budget. And that's something that will be based on a 10-year plan. Okay, the other thing I wanted to speak to you about in the 2021 budget, excuse me, is that we've increased transfers from water, sewer, and golf. From water and sewer, we transferred an additional 350,000 from each fund. So now from the water fund, we're up to 3.6 million from the water fund and 2.9 million from the sewer fund. And from the golf course, we increased it by 37,000 to 151,000. So as you can see, and I want to say to you guys, the 20 years of doing the budgets, this has been the hardest budget that I've done. I think we have like 12 different budgets. And actually, this one is the best one we came up with. It was very difficult, and I hope we can get through this. And I'm sure we will. And I'm sure we'll get through this pandemic as a whole. Did anybody have any questions that I can start? Am I still on? I can't even tell.
Yeah, you're still on. We'll see if there's any questions before we get to the overall budget questions that were in the question list.
Yeah, and I got some answers for you now on that if you want to ask those.
Well, let's see if there's any questions first.
So Anthony, can you, Mr. Palmini, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Sorry. Can you just go back to your amortizing? You went a little too fast for me on the. I want to kind of understand what you're doing, and it's a little more difficult when you're not in front of it. But
Yes.
Can you put your screen back up and go to where we were, where you're amortizing the 1.7?
Yeah, let me just get to that. Okay, I gotta close this. Okay, where is it? Oh, there you go.
I think it was retirement.
Yeah, I just got to get to the retirement costs. There you go. Yeah, so let me just start with that. So in 2020, you can see the ERS is the regular employees
Right.
retirement fund, the PRFS, police and fire. The police and fire went up $1.7 million from one year to the next.
Right.
And because of that, we would have to increase, if we wanted to pay it whole, like we've always done, we would have to add an additional $850,000 to our budget that we have now, this proposed budget, if we did not amortize this $1.1 million.
So that's amortized for how long? Is it a year?
It'd be over 10 years.
10 years, okay.
10 years, and you know, and this sounds weird, but the interest rates are so favorable, it's almost worth it to do it.
Yeah, okay.
But you know, the big thing is to see how much it went up in 1 year. I mean, we did not estimate, predict. I mean, this to me is outrageous. But of course, you know, when the state does their billing, they do it in the month of March, and of
Yeah.
course, all the stock market was at its bottom, so that's how they came up. This,
Yeah, no, I just wanted to, I wanted to just make sure I understood that, because we did always pay that in the past, so
yes,
now we're just gonna amortize that for 10 years at a super low rate, and
and like I said,
what's our annual cost gonna be on that?
well, yeah, I'm not sure 100%, but I
A
think
ballpark,
1%,
1%, okay, all
Yeah.
right,
which you know,
How many?
that's like free money.
yeah.
Yes, I saw your text or your chat. I'm looking for the button. I'll do that. Thank you, Sam.
Mr. Palomeni?
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was trying to ask a question before, but because I called in, I wasn't able to, I guess I wasn't able to be heard. Mr. Ferrari, you
Yes.
mentioned that we borrowed $7 million
Correct.
for operating costs. How does that impact the $10 million deficit? Does that bring that deficit down now?
No, it does not, because like I mentioned, it's not a revenue, it's a liability. But what happens is it makes us, we are able to do our cash flow, so continue operations without you know, we don't be able to pay our bills. But, you know, just like if you start a business, you borrow $7 million, you don't have a $7 million profit, you have a $7 million liability, you know?
Well, I understand that, but we're paying it back over a number of years, so that's still $7 million of cash infused into the budget, correct? So
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, are you trying to tell me then that we have, you were using all this chunk of reserves plus the 7 million?
No, I'm trying to leave the 7 million out because we did not put in the budget any principal payment for it. So we put it in there.
Okay, but ultimately, because of the 7 million, we're not going to have to transfer as much out of reserves.
Yes,
Whether
we
we
will.
have to pay it back or not, still, we're not going to transfer that money. We're just going to owe the payment.
We're going to owe the payment, which it says if we, you know, if it gets worse than it is, then we'll have to, you know, we'll have to not only use reserves, but then we'll have to borrow even more money to pay back the,
Right, but as it is, what we're really transferring out of reserves is the $7 million plus whatever brings us up to the number that we need to bring us up to. Although understanding that that is a liability, we're going to owe that money,
yeah.
but we're still not really reducing the reserves to $41,000. Am I understanding that correctly?
And account, and once you do an accounting of, if you did you know, a standard acceptable accounting rules, you're going to have a fund balance of $41,000. You know, according to you know.
Right, I understand that, but that's not really where we're at. Just for clarification.
Right. Our plan is, well, our plan, you know, so we, you know, not to use it if we don't have to. We're using it for, you know, so that, you know, as you know, we do a lot of these grants. We have to pay for them first before we get reimbursed. So a lot of that's what we want to use a lot of that $7 million for, you know, the monies that we're going to get reimbursed for.
I just think that that's a very important point of clarification for the council to understand.
Yeah. And, you know, and we're hoping, and if we do get some kind of money from the federal government, the first thing we're going to pay off is that $7 million after 1 year.
Are there any more questions? If you wait a minute, I will, I think the mayor's trying to say something, see if we can unmute him here. So, gotta love the WebEx. Let's see. Try this one. Can you speak now, Mayor? Apparently not. Try this one. Is this you?
Hello.
There we go. All right, you're unmuted now, so you can
Thank
participate.
you. Again, just Mr. Ferrari's given a fairly detailed summary there. You can look at those numbers. It's not by any means a good scenario. We're going to draw the cash down, and we really need that $7 million to make sure we have the cash flow going forward. And I'm still optimistic that we'll get some federal assistance at some point. We'd like it sooner. The reality is it's probably not going to come until the end of December, maybe into January.
Mayor, I hate to tell you, I think it won't be until at the earliest in May or June.
That could be, but I hope that's not the case.
All right, are there any other questions?
Are we entertaining questions about revenue right now?
No, just the overall budget presentation that Mr. Ferrari has gone through right now, and then we'll go through the overall budget questions and revenues after that.
Mr. Palavini,
Go ahead.
just a reminder, so Mr. Ferrari, you're going to email those documents to the council?
Yes, I'll do it as soon as I can.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
All right, so Mr. Ferrari, I think the council has all the questions. You have the questions. I'll just read it through, and if you could provide the answers on the overall budget. What would a 10% pay cut to management and non-union pay save?
Okay, if you what would it save financially? It would save you $289,037, but it would cost you because I think that it'd be very difficult for a lot of these managers to take a 10% pay cut. I think you would have a lot of people who would leave. I think it would be very difficult for them to operate with most of their union workers might be making more than them with the overtime or whatever. So the cost financially is $289,37, but the morale, I don't know.
Okay, the next two are related. How much would be saved by furloughing city staff with the exception of police, fire, and garbage, 1 day per month or 1 week every 3 months?
And the savings would be $343,900 for 1 day a month for everybody except for police, fire, and the 1037 group.
And for the 3 months?
The three, I got that right here. Hold on 1 second here. For the 3 months, that's 20 days off. 1 week off every 3 months. That'd
For 1 month?
be 20 days off. That'd be savings of $638,516.32.
And I should have asked this at the beginning. Could you email these answers to everybody later as well? Thank you.
Okay.
Next, what positions could be moved to part-time status, letting the employees take unemployment? And how much would this save in salary and benefits?
But that'd be very difficult to do. I don't know how you would pick a part-time salary, part-time people. I don't know what the union issues, how that would work if you are laying people off and hiring part-time people. I don't know how that works.
Okay. And then the next question is, can you address the health insurance costs for the city and what could be done to reduce costs?
Okay, as you know, all our insurances is all contractual with all the 10 different unions that we have. And what we've been doing is we've been offering a wellness program to encourage our employees to stay healthy, not to use it, and get healthy habits. We're doing EOPs. We have contests. We have walking things. We're trying to get them to be as healthy as we can get them, so they don't have to use don't use insurances. We've also been looking into insurances with high deductibility, for like the new guys to come in, the single guys, higher deductibles, so they pay less out of their paycheck every week. We're looking at a bunch of different options. We're looking at different brokers. We've been looking at different plans, but just to remind you all that most of this stuff that right now is tied up in with union contracts.
And the other question, oh,
The
go
only
ahead.
way to save money is to have less people on staff.
And the other question you've already addressed with the fund balance. Are there any other questions before we move on to revenues?
Mr. Palmani, question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Ferrari, is there any way to talk about the health insurance to partner with the county? I thought New York State recently passed a law where counties and cities and other towns and municipalities can all work together on health insurance programs, savings and costs. Have we looked into partnership with the county? And if not, why not?
Okay, Phil Speck is actually trying to propose that in the state right now. I don't think it has passed, but we've talked to Chris Gardner. You know Chris, right? Many a times about this, and we actually been working together. We got him into our prescription program. We got him into doing running their own health program. They got us into our workers' comp group. So we've all been working together. We're waiting for Phil Speck to get something where not only would be with city and county, but city, county, and towns all together to create a huge pool. That is something we've discussed. And, that's, like I said, Phil Speck is trying to get that passed through the state. I don't think it has gone through yet.
Any other questions? All right, we'll move on to revenue. Hopefully you can see the revenue on the screen as well as the revenue questions. Mr. Ferrari, why don't you just give an overview of the revenue, and then we'll address some of the questions and see if there's anything else.
Yeah, of course, we're hoping, I tell everyone this is like after the flu pandemic in 1918. So we're hoping, and I have to admit, we never expected the pandemic to be this long, and we're hoping that it'll end soon, and that 2021 will be the beginning of our roaring 20s. Our revenues are like I said, are down still because there's a real lot of unknowns, and we're hoping we gave it our best shot. We looked at everything. We looked at everything 5, 6, 7, 8 times over and over and over, and we think the revenues are as good as we can ask for. We're of course, like we mentioned, the property taxes going up. We mentioned our sales use tax going down by 500,000 compared to 2019. One of our big things we're looking at, and it's one of the mayor's big incentives on page 3, is the sale of the homes program at 2.5 million. I know that the mayor is putting a big push on this, and as you can see in the last few weeks, not only have we been selling many homes, but the best prices we had in town. The best prices we had in quite a while. Again, I mentioned we increased transfers from water, sewer, and golf to help reduce the pain to the general fund. And if you have any other specific questions, please ask me.
All right, the first question submitted was regarding A1170.
This is not going to have an impact because Spectric and Vios right now, they're not all about internet. They're cable, they have internet, they have phones. There's a lot of stuff. So franchise fees, especially for 2021, there's going to be no effect.
Okay. And next is A2610A. Why the $200,000 decrease in revenue?
Yeah, because we really started analyzing all this stuff, and we noticed that before the COVID, before this year, there was a trend, a downward trend. And there's a couple of reasons for that. And, there's the two biggest reasons is, the police are not giving out as many tickets. And two, the courts are being more lenient to the fines. So as you look at 2018, it was 295,000. 2019, 237,000. 2020, we're estimating at 95,000. So we're looking at that 200,000 as a viable number to get in 2021.
All right, next is A3089H. Oops, went too far.
Yeah,
Casino fee reduction.
Yeah, so we actually had a call. The mayor had, and we during our budget meetings, we actually called the manager of Rivers Casino. And he told us there'll be a 20% reduction from the 2019 amounts. And so that's the number we use. So we got a direct right from the horse's mouth, I guess you would say, right?
And lastly is A50031 interfund transfers.
Yes, this number is only used when we move finished capital projects over into debt reserves. So yes, it's not you never really budget for it because we don't know where we're going to close at the end of the year. So yeah, so we don't budget for it. And then, like it says, it has nothing to do really with general fund. It has really to do with debt reserves.
Okay, are there any other questions on revenues?
Yeah, Mr. Palvin.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Ferrari, if you could just give me on the council a brief, how did you arrive at $13 million under sales and use tax?
Sales and use tax, yes. That was a number that we looked at. It's how do we figure it out? I let me get my folder here.
You don't have to give me the answer today if you don't.
Oh,
I'm fine with it tomorrow. That's fine.
We estimated it as a 5% 2019. And we figured at 95% of 2019.
So you're taking 95%
of 2019 dollar budget. And if you look at the trend of the past few months, the actual sales tax is not getting, it's still the amount of deficit is getting less and less. I think by December we might be even, or I spoke to John McPhillips recently, the county the controller for the county of Schenectady, and he told me that he thought the third quarter was pretty even for 2020 compared to 2019, which I hope is true. Well, we'll gotta wait to see. So I'm hoping that number is going to be increasing slowly as the city opens up.
Are there any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari, there was, a couple weeks ago, we approved a grant that was supposed to be coming through. And I remember a part of it was like $200,000, if I remember correctly. I don't remember the total amount. I can't find the actual agenda information that was supposed to be coming in. And I'm not seeing it anywhere on this in the revenue side.
What you recall what grant it was?
I'm gonna have to. I can't find it exactly here, but I remember that a part of it. It was a. I think the total grant was somewhere in the area of. I can't remember the number. I'm sorry, but I remember 200,000 was supposed to be going to the police department. I asked that specific question, and I was kind of looking for it in the revenue line, and I'm not seeing it. So I can find out exactly the total number of the grant, and then you could point out maybe.
Now, if it's a total grant, that won't be in the general fund. That'll be in the grant fund side, because coming in, money going out. So at the end, yeah, and that would not be here unless it has to do with general fund finances.
Okay.
Just to follow up on that, Ms. Porterfield, are you talking about A1520B?
Let me look. Are you saying 15 or 16?
151520A?
I believe it's the GIVE grant,
Sorry, B, yes, sorry, B.
A3389NG. Is that it?
It's not from the county. I'm pretty sure it was a state grant.
And we have,
Go ahead.
we have the gift.
I will get that actual grant information and send it to you, Mr. Ferrari, and then I'll send it to the entire council, and you can then answer that to the entire council.
Very good. No problem.
All right, moving on. We will go now to the city council. That will be on page 1. Easy enough.
City Council, let me just give you a little. Exactly even.
Can people mute? Can people mute if they're not speaking, please? I'm getting a lot of feedback. Thank you.
The city council budget is exactly the same as the 2020 budget. There's nothing changed. They kept everything the same.
Are there any questions? All right, next we will go to the clerk's office, which is page 8.
The total city clerk budget has decreased by 18.16%. That's basically due to two shifts in staffs.
Okay, there were a couple questions submitted here. Can the city clerk offer the impact on her office with the proposed budget to eliminate a position from the clerk's office?
Sam, are you out there?
Yep, I can speak. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, so staffing levels for the city clerk's office are currently below the minimum need for the office to function at full efficiency. 2 part-time positions have already been eliminated. There is currently a bottleneck with record accumulation that is continually building due to staffing the existing staff constraints. This has a negative impact on the clerk's ability to file documents, meet residents' requests at the previous service standards or levels with regard to timeliness of processing. Records in the city archives are currently not organized and sorted, as this is not possible at the current staffing level. The direct impact on the city is that revenues generated by this office will be reduced.
Okay, the next question is what services in this office could be moved to online to reduce costs?
There are many services that can be moved online. The immediate impact of moving services will be an additional upfront cost for programs or upgrades to existing systems, and possible long-term fees, as there may be a third-party vendor that will need to be utilized for some types of services. It is possible that some of these cost burdens of this can be alleviated by increasing fees. But immediately, we can't.
Okay, and then lastly, what have you done and what do you plan to do to reduce costs in this office?
We've already eliminated 2 part-time positions last year, and that's, we're running at such low efficiency right now.
Okay, are there any other questions for the city clerk's office?
Yes, Mr. Palmetti?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Just one other question. Also here is eliminated the municipal bingo inspector. How is this position going to be taken care of? And I believe this is required by New York State. So how do we plan on filling this position, or who's going to take over these duties?
Is it requirement in New York State? I mean.
Yes, absolutely.
We were taking in between $6,000 and $8,000, and we're paying out $12,008. So
yeah, of course, that's the days when we had all the Catholic churches doing bingo too, and all that stuff. But this position is definitely required by New York State. So my question to Samantha or whoever, the mayor's office, or Mr. Ferrari, who's going to take over these this job duty?
What are you doing on weekends?
Hey, it's right in Woodlawn, my friend.
Yeah, that I don't have an answer for because we are required to have a bingo inspector, and I can't really say I can spare anyone to just out there on these evenings when bingo does resume to monitor these games because that is a requirement.
I did not know that.
Can I also add to that particular question?
Go ahead.
In the revenue on it's A2545B, there's a fee for bingo licenses. So I'm not sure how it is that we're at. I think it's $10,000. Let me go back to it. So I'm not sure how it is that we're putting in revenue for bingo licenses and we're not having a bingo inspector.
You still got to pay for the licenses. And my point is if your only licenses are coming at $10,000 when you're paying twice, you're losing money.
Well, to that point, I understand. But if you're charging for a license, then there has to be someone out there taking care of the bingo when it exists. Regardless, if you can't issue a license and then say, oh, you can't play bingo because we don't have an inspector. Added to that, whenever we talk about the bingo inspector, we always frame it by how much money that particular position brings in. And I don't know that we do that with other positions. And is that what we're really basing it on? So I'm not sure that we should always base it on like only they bring in only this much revenue. If it's something that we're required to have, if it's we're putting in the revenue line, then we need to have someone who takes care of those particular duties.
Sam, how do they pay for the revenues right now for bingo halls?
Say that again, Tony. You were breaking up.
How do they pay for the bingo permits now?
They usually send everything by mail, but right now bingo, during COVID hasn't been allowed to open up and run.
Yeah.
But once it does, we still need an inspector. Because someone has to physically go out there and sit there during the game.
Mr. Palmetti?
Really? I never knew that.
Mr. Palmetti?
Go ahead, Ms. Patrick.
Sam, are there a lot of bingo even without COVID? When there is no COVID, is there still a lot of bingo? I mean, it seems to me like a lot of places got rid of it. Senior centers got rid of them because they were worried about the fact that especially a lot of lower income people were spending money in ways that they maybe was hurting them. So do you know what the volume of bingo is in the city? I mean, is it something where what if we just, didn't give up bingo permits?
I mean, you still have some of the schools that did bingo and little leagues or whatever, and they all go through the bingo palace. But I mean, if we stopped issuing permits, I don't know where else they would raise some of their funds that they use for these games.
Yeah, and I disagree with that, Ms. Patrick, because then you have another empty building on State Street, because that is the only function that building has there. And again, they're bringing in revenue. On the board, they've got 7 nights filled, at least they used to in the past. But again, as Anthony said, years ago, and we all remember, the Catholic churches all had bingo. I mean, every church had a bingo, especially if you sent kids to their elementary school, you had to work bingo as a parent in order to get that tuition rate lowered. So, but times have changed, but that's still an important location, and to not issue a permit, I don't think is the right way to go either. Just
raising the question.
We should issue the permit. We just don't get to have an inspector.
I just wasn't sure if there was a volume need. You know what I mean? Like, again, the $10,000 versus the $12,000.
Right. So but Mr. Ferrari, how can we issue the licenses and say people have bingo, but we don't have an inspector? I don't know how we do that.
For liquor license, nobody comes in and inspects my liquor stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, but New York State, if you look at Mr. Kosher is correct. New York State says that if you have bingo, you must have a bingo inspector. That's not an option that we can decide.
And I'm just looking at financial position for the city. I'm looking to save money at every corner that I was looking at. That seemed to be a viable. Like for instance, in 2019, we only took in $8,700. for 18 and 19, and we're paying out 12. You know, we're losing over, you know, almost $5,000. You know. So then you know,
It's the reality of this, that your bingo has declined. And what's proposed is the elimination of that position. We could still do the inspections by assigning that duty to either code enforcement or to the police department for the limited amount of inspections that actually have to be done.
It's a weekly inspection. I think the games are 2 or 3 times a week, and you'd have to, whoever goes out there would actually have to sit the whole game.
And they have to arrive half an hour before the game starts to be there.
wow.
I just think, look, we're talking nickels and dimes here, folks, and let's move on. We're talking about a $4,000 difference in this big budget. And can we just move on from this and discuss it later? This is just such a minor point, in my opinion.
Happily. All right, any other questions on this for the city clerk? Very good. We'll move on to the mayor's office on page 1.
The mayor's office budget is down 1%.
I thought you were going to say something else. The question that was submitted is for line item number 495. Why the increase in the discretionary fund? What is the to date and offer details on current and past spending from this line, please?
And I'm not proposing any increase. It's the same as what was adopted in 2020. So.
Yeah, and right now it's he only spent $2,250. But again, you got to remember, and this is the discretionary fund. This is where he buys a lot of the plaques and stuff like that for you know, for the proclamations and all that stuff. You know, keys to the city, stuff like that. I think in the past years, it's always been over 8,000. Last year was 7,700. So we try to keep it at that $8,000 level again for 2021.
Mr. Fulmani?
Go ahead, Mr.
If
Koji.
I can request, just a part of that question, can we have a to date and offer the exact details on what the current spending has been on that line?
Yeah, I got that. Just give me a minute. I have
Like email to me. I don't want the plaques is too vague. I'd like to see something more writing here.
You got it.
Any other questions about the mayor's budget?
Yeah, Mr. Palomini, I have a question regarding that discretionary line. Since it sounded like from what Mr. Ferrari said, we spent less than what was budgeted last year. But certainly I can understand that. You know, we've been in this pandemic, so there's a lot of things that didn't happen that would have happened out of that line. So is it possible that since we did not spend as much, that we reduce next year's line and be able to carry over what, you know, the amount that we know? Mr. Ferrari saying no. If we haven't spent the 8,000 and there's money left over, why can we not carry that over?
Because we're having
because we're going to have a $10 million deficit in 2020. There's not going to be any money left over. I'm trying to reduce every line's expenditure.
Right, that's why I'm asking why we couldn't reduce that line.
In 2021 or in 2020?
Well, we can reduce it in 2021 because if you haven't spent let's use numbers. If you had 8,000 assigned, you only use 3,000. What happens to the other 5?
It means we're not doing some of the things, and I've reduced some of the other expenses.
So what happens to the 5 that's left in 2020? Can we reduce 2013 and just, excuse me.
There's not going to be any surplus in 2020. The deficit that we're projecting, which Mr. Ferrari went over, is going to be roughly $10 million. So that line is going to be underexpended a little bit. There's other lines throughout the budget that are going to be underexpended. We went through there and drew $2 million out that the council had approved in the 2020 budget, and I just put restrictions on that. I told department heads they cannot spend it. So there's going to be lines throughout that where we've reduced those 400 codes to try and minimize the deficit.
Very good. Mr. Palmetti?
Go ahead.
Two other quick questions, Mr. Mayor. Executive Secretary, has that position been filled?
I've taken Mr. Ferrari's executive secretary and moved her down to the mayor's office so that between the two, I'm keeping that in the mayor's office, but we've reduced one position in finance.
Right, I saw that. So she's splitting time between both offices. Gary, is that what you're doing with her, or?
She's spending all her time in the mayor's office. She's still doing a little bit of the work from finance, but again, finance is taking the hit on that.
Yeah, and that was one of my other questions that is going to come to finance later on. I guess how is Mr. Ferrari going to deal with that? Okay, so technically that position has been filled, obviously. And then longevity, who's getting that longevity? The $1,190.
Amy.
Secretary.
That's Amy. That's what I thought. All right, very good. And she's an outstanding individual. And of course, Anthony, you're going to get that question later on, you know, how you going to be coping with the loss of Amy, but I guess I'll take that one for later, Mr. Palmetti.
Yep, that's on Tuesday. All right, now we'll move on to legal, page 9, A1420.
Okay. Here's my paperwork here. Okay, the law department itself has reduced its budget by 16.4%. Go ahead, Andrew.
Thank you, Mr. Ferrari. I know there was a question that was posed. I don't know if Mr. Palomini, if you'd like me just to address that question, or?
Sure, go ahead.
Sure. Obviously, in the proposed budget, there's the elimination of 2 positions. One is an assistant corporation counsel position. The other one is a confidential secretary to the corporation counsel. With regard to the assistant corporation counsel position, obviously every attorney position is important to the work that we do in the law department. And because there's really no shortage of legal work, we work with every department in some capacity. That being said, since October of 2018, the law department has not had more than 3 attorneys filling open positions. While it would be obviously, it would obviously be great to have 6 attorneys or 7 attorneys or, name it, obviously. The fact is that filling that 3rd attorney position is really my priority right now. And obviously, given the financial situation of the city, the law department will be able to function well with 3 attorney positions being filled. Obviously, during the first, 10 months of this year, it's been a challenge just having 2 attorneys going through COVID. Even during COVID, there wasn't a shortage of legal work. There were always things to be done, and that hasn't changed since we've reopened back in June. I think we would still be able to function quite well with 3 attorneys being filled. Obviously, having a 4th attorney would be great, but to me, that's more of a bucket list type of thing right now, given the situation of the city. With regard to the was there a question? Sorry. No? Okay. With regard to the confidential secretary to the corporation counsel position, as I said, every position is very important in the law department, including this position. For quite some time, this position was unfilled. There was a period in time in which my predecessor, Mr. Falotico, did not have a confidential secretary filling the open position. It went from 1 person to vacancy, and then we brought obviously another person on. During that time, it wasn't as though, we were not getting work done because of that. Other people stepped up, including the attorneys, to fill the vacuum that was left by the vacancy. And I anticipate that, with the proposed budget, that's exactly what would happen again. You know, obviously it's a confidential secretary to my position for the corporation counsel, but it's somebody who, you know, typically would answer the phones, take care of certain filings, send out certain mailings and so forth. Honestly, as I said, because it had been vacant for quite some time before it was filled, you know, it wasn't as though other people wouldn't be able to step forward and take care of the duties that the confidential secretary takes care of now.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Colden?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead, Ms. Porter. I'll relinquish to you. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Colden, I heard your explanation about the confidential secretary. So when's the last time the assistant corporation counsel position was filled?
So, as I said, we had 3 attorneys. I'm trying to think now. So the last time it was actually filled was at the end of last year. We had 3 attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Falotico obviously was the corporation counsel. There was nobody filling the deputy position, and there were 2 assistant corporation counsels.
Right.
Me being one, the other being Mr. Commodore. So we had 3 attorneys at that time.
Okay. And at that time also had that same position that we're discussing now, the confidential secretary. Is that correct?
Correct. That position was filled at that time.
Okay. So I guess my concern is how that work gets absorbed. And I heard what you said about the attorneys pitching in, but I know for a fact right now that you are already pitching in on Sundays, on the weekends, maybe Saturdays. I don't know about that, but I definitely see you on Sundays. So I do have a level of concern about how much, I mean, we all want to get it done, but how much can really, every human being has a capacity that they can just not go past. So I don't know, I have concerns that we're going to be able to generate all the work that needs to happen there. And, you observing Mr. Commodore and all the other staff members as well, being able to absorb that, given the fact that that position was filled when there were 3 attorneys. So now to cut that position.
Part of it is just part of it, Ms. Porterfield, is just how I function. If there's work to be done, I feel as though it needs to be done. The critical position, obviously, is filling the 3rd attorney position. The work that I come in and do on Sundays or over the weekend or stay late doing, it's not, administrative work, it's legal work. So, I'm not coming in and filing on the weekends. I'm coming in to do legal work. That's something that, to be honest, the confidential secretary obviously couldn't do in his or her capacity. Having a 3rd attorney, though, would obviously take a load off of the work before me, the work before Mr. Commodore, and that's why the focus right now that I have is finding somebody to fit the assistant corporation counsel position. So, I hope that kind of addresses your concern or your question. It's the work that has to be done is really the legal work. The absorption of the work of the confidential secretary, it was done before without that position being filled. I anticipate that it will be done again if that position is not filled.
All right, Mr. Kosher.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Mulder. The job duties of the position of the confidential secretary, what are those? And is this a union position as well, Andrew?
Mr. Kosher, this is not a union position.
Non-union.
This is a non-union position. I actually reached out to Mr. Ferrari earlier before the meeting started to get the job description of the confidential secretary. I actually don't have the job description before me. I can certainly get it from Ms. White in the morning and send it out. But it's explicitly confidential secretary to the corporation counsel.
Very good.
It's not just.
And how long has the assistant corporation counsel positions been vacant? Several years now, correct?
No.
No? How long has it been vacant?
So if I can give you the timeline on it,
Yes.
Mr. Kosher.
Sure.
Obviously, I can only speak since I began. There were 2 assistant corporation counsel positions that were filled through the end of December of 2019. There was nobody who was in the deputy corporation counsel position at that time.
Okay.
That was left vacant beginning in November of 2018. There hadn't been a deputy. So when, as I said, when Mr. Falotico left, I succeeded him in his position. Mr. Commodore, who had been an assistant corporation counsel, moved into the deputy position.
Gotcha. All right, and again, as Ms. Porterfield extended, and I know quite a few of the council members, we certainly appreciate all the work you do during the working hours and of course on the weekends as well. We've seen you many nights and many days there going over and above, and appreciate that. And I still just think that these two positions are very, very important. Especially the confidential secretary. It's something that I really am going to try to push for, and of course to fill this assistant corporation counsel. But again, thank you for your work and your duty to our city. Thank you, sir.
And also, I'd like to point out, Mr. Palomini, that the job descriptions Mr. Ferrari did send out, I believe, earlier today.
I believe so, yes.
Of it though, she was not on that description because we did.
And on that one, so could we have hers as well?
Yeah, I have to pick Ms. Waits in tomorrow. 'Cause I
All
cannot-
right, thank you.
All right, next is judgment and claims on page.
Mr. Palmetti, if I may, I just want to go back to Ms. Michael real quick, if I can. There was one question with Ms. Michael that I forgot to ask of her. Sam, are you still there? Or Mr. Palmetti, can I just go back? It's a very, very quick question.
Go ahead.
Which I know she's going to answer. Ms. Michael, we just talked about the additional hours and work nights and commitment that Mr. Colden has to his position. What about yourself as a city clerk? Being shorthanded and short-staffed, what does that pose on your position there, having to work additional hours over and above your 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 workday?
Currently, during the day when I am here, I'm pitch hitting. I'm up at the counter, I'm helping customers, I'm answering phone calls. So the administrative duties that I need to do here for council is sometimes after hours, sometimes on the weekends, later in the evenings, just trying to get things done.
Yeah, and again, we have seen many emails come from you at 8:30, 8:45, seen you there on weekends as well, along with Ms. Porterfield. We have our eyes on you as we see it at the Green Market. We're watching City Hall as well. So again, thank you for your service. I just wanted to make note to our council members, just the work ethic that these two individuals and all our department heads have. But again, these are two that I want to speak for as well. Thank you, Mr. Palmetti.
Yep. Next is judgment and claims A1930. Mr. Ferrari.
Judgment and claims. Okay, as you know, as we go through the process at our council meetings, we do have claims and judgments. This is where we take the claims from, so as you can see, we kept it the same as 2020. And same with the certiorari's. We kept everything the same. And, you guys approve the claims, every week. So I'm just saying that's where the claims money comes from.
All right, and while we're there, why don't we do public safety communication system A3020?
All right, that we just got a letter from the Schenectady County about the increase of the radio mobile district to 90,413. That is the number that they gave us. What the cost would be. I know, as you could talk to Chief Clifford and Chief Sieber, I know the county is right in the process of right now. They received a grant to upgrade, I think, the whole radio district. So I think eventually that number will come down in the future years. But you could talk to them about that. So.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on next to fire, page 29.
Chief, you out there?
Yep, we're here.
Do you need to use the screen, Chief?
I I do not. Thank you.
Okay.
I just want to let you guys know that the fire department has decreased their budget by 6% from 2020. And they also, as you know, reduced the staffing by 8.
Whenever you're ready, Chief, go ahead.
Sorry.
Okay, so we understand what we're up against this year. I think everybody understands the position that we're in as a city. It's a tough budget. There's no two ways about it. There's no way around it. We have a tough budget. I spent a lot of time with Mr. Ferrara, and we've come up with what we feel is something that we're going to do our best to stay within, if you will. I'll start by saying I did lose one position, the clerical position. It'll be difficult for us to operate. We have basically 10 divisions. I have 3 clerical, if you will, people that work together to cover each other when there's sick leave, long-term sick leave, vacations. We're hoping that this is going to be temporary due to the fact that, again, we're lean to begin with in our front office. We only have 3 civilian positions. So together, the 3 individuals cover everything that you can imagine that we have, from workers' comp to payroll to the chief's office, our hazardous materials division, fire training, fire investigation. I'm not going to list everything, but it's going to be a challenge for us. There's no question. We currently have 7 positions that are vacant. By the end of 2021, we'll be down 5 positions for a total of 12 vacant positions by the end of the year. We factored in every penny we could pertaining to the salaries of the individuals. We are not hiring. We have scheduled to do no hiring. So we removed half of our equipment line. Roughly 40% of the money we have for turnout gear, our training line has been reduced due to the fact that we do not plan on hiring. Again, the men and women in the department understand the position that the city's in. We're going to work together to do the best that we can to stay within our budget. But I will tell you, it'll be difficult. Historically, at least as long as I've been here, and several years before, we've come in under budget, well under budget. That's our goal again. But I will tell you, it'll be tougher this year. So at any rate, as Mr. Farrar mentioned, we're 6% under last year. Roughly $500,000 out of our salary line, the vacant positions, if you will. Roughly $200,000 out of our other lines, including training, equipment, turnout gear lines, things of that nature. And again, I've said before, every budget hearing that fires are expensive. Our Fire Investigation Bureau does an excellent job. We still lead the nation in solving fires. Every time we have a fire, it costs us money. It costs us equipment. It costs us man hours, if you will, labor, with injuries, equipment failures. So if we can control our fires, we should hopefully hit our mark, if you will. If we have several major fires, as you know, we had a major fire yesterday. Included everybody on duty, including our staff people, and we had mutual aid there as well. Well, that could be a different story. So I'll open it up to questions at this point.
Sure. The one question that was submitted is, assuming we get federal money, what positions would you want to keep from being eliminated? And if you could rank those by order of importance to you.
Okay, so the positions I have eliminated are the secretarial position, if you will, or the secretarial position, or it's labeled as a principal account clerk. So I have 1 clerical position and 12 firefighting positions. Rank of importance, they're all important to us. Every person, keeping people in the street is important. Handling the calls, so was my clerical staff. So we put fires out, if you will, in our office as well. So I would like to get back my front office personnel, if you will, and then the rest of our firefighters. So for me, I don't have, I really have just two classes of losses, if you will, because a lot of my money is in labor, and then being that we're not hiring, I'm not paying a training academy, we're not paying turnout gear line, we're not paying equipment. Also, all those things come back at the same time. They have the same effect, if you will. So I really don't have a bunch of divisions, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. Are there any other questions for the chief?
Yes, Mr. Palmini, I have a question.
Go ahead.
It's my understanding that the position that's being cut is actually working on telemedicine specifically, and that position is expected to bring in between $400,000 and $600,000 in revenue. Is that something you could talk about, Chief?
Yeah, so currently, I want to give the assistant chief some credit here because he spent a lot of time on a couple of different projects. One of them is concierge medicine, which is telemedicine. We have a lot of, he has a lot of work into. He spearheaded the campaign, if you will, along with our CAG, which is a revenue recovery system that will recover monies from miscellaneous emergencies that we handle. We do expect to see there again. I don't like to anticipate money that we may not recover, but we fully expect to recover anywhere for up to $100,000 out of our CAG recovery program and concierge medicine. We're confident that that will take off as well. To have one person to say that one person alone works on that would not be accurate. But yes, that is one duty that the position I'm losing will have worked on. Again, all three of our positions work together because when you only have three people, when you factor in sick leave, personal time, vacation time, we're quite often running with two people in the office. So when I lose one, it leaves me one, and we hope that that individual doesn't get sick or have an emergency as well. So short answer, if you will, yes, you will be working on that, but we have three people that handle 10 divisions. I think that says a lot right there. And quite frankly, we quite often have one person out for all the legitimate reasons that we talk about. That's time that they have, and people get sick, and there's long-term sick, and so again, it's a collective effort.
Are there any other questions?
Yes, I just need clarification on there's a line item where there's 5 firefighters that were in the 2020 adopted budget. Were those positions actually filled at that time?
We filled in 2020. We filled 2. COVID-19 affected our, as it did for everybody, affected our operation. So we have filled 2 of the 5.
Okay, so all 5 weren't filled last year, even though they were in the budget as jobs that were open. That's
correct. I've been working with the Commissioner of Finance, and that was the savings that we're going to realize for the 2020. I don't want to speak for Anthony, but for our 2020 deficit, if you will.
Okay, thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much, Chief.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next we will move on to police, which is on page 21. It's A3120 if you're looking by code.
The police department as a whole includes parking control. Really
Just a second, Mr. Ferrari. Marion, could you mute your microphone?
Is that me?
I think so.
Okay.
Thanks.
Again, the total police department, including parking and animal control, has reduced their budget by 5.54%. The police budget itself, just for the police department, they reduced it from 5% over $1 million. Of course, they're losing about 14 staff members.
All right, we're going to turn it over to the chief. I'm going to stop sharing so he can take the roles here.
Thank you. If I can share this now.
You should be able to do it now. There we go. Thank you.
So I would just like to start off by acknowledging that this is, we understand this was a difficult budget year. And, I'd like to thank the Finance Department, specifically Commissioner Ferrari and Assistant Chief Sieber for working closely together. Like Chief Senecal had indicated, multiple budgets were crafted back and forth. And I think what they put together is a budget that really gives us the least impact possible while still cutting our budget by close to $1.2 million, just shy of $1.2 million. Unfortunately, we will have some civilian layoffs, but we will not be laying off any police officers. The 9 officers positions that are being cut will be current vacant positions. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to go through a very short slide presentation to just refamiliarize everybody with the operations that we do here. Here's our organizational chart. We have Commissioner Eidens that oversees the police department, myself and then 3 assistant chiefs, each overseeing a different bureau. Assistant Chief Sieber oversees the budget process, and he also oversees technology training, accreditation, our community services division, and our support services. Patrick LaVoyer is our investigative services bureau chief, and then recently promoted Chief Mallard is our field services bureau chief. He took over for Chief Falvo. Our command staff list, this is the new and updated one that includes Chief Mallard. At the bottom of the lieutenant list, you'll see our recently promoted 2 new lieutenants. And of course, Matthew Douglas, who's our lead analyst, who does a lot of very hard work for us, both on our GIVE grant and for our Office of Field Intelligence. This is our mission statement, our current mission statement, and it is something that we have posted throughout the police department, and we're committed to reducing crime through effective implementation of crime prevention and intelligence-driven policing strategies. Furthermore, we will tenaciously investigate crimes when they occur to ensure the expeditious arrest and efficient prosecution of criminal offenders. We will deliver the highest quality of police services possible, working in partnership with the community within the framework of the U.S. and New York State Constitution. We will conduct ourselves as consummate professionals, both on and off duty. This mission will stay true even with the reduced number of officers. Our goals. This is a list of our goals. I'm not going to read through them all. Everybody could take a quick look at them. I just wanted to share then that these are our goals that we introduced at the beginning of 2020. Most importantly, accreditation was successfully accomplished. We will go over that briefly. Chief Sieber will go over that in a few minutes. Our vision is through community partnership, the principles of procedural justice and intelligence-led policing. Schenectady Police Department will work tirelessly to create and maintain a safe and secure city that all can be proud of. These are our core values: professionalism, integrity, ethics, service, excellence, wellness, golden rule, and legacy. And procedural justice is something that we talk about regularly, which is voice, neutrality, respect, and trustworthiness. We adopted guiding principles. Schenectady Police Department has adopted procedural justice as the guiding principle for internal and external policies and practices regarding interactions with citizens that we serve. Accordingly, the Schenectady Police Department continues to adopt the Guardian mindset to build public trust and legitimacy. By legitimacy, this means the public's belief that the authority enforcing the law has the right to do so. Recent events, I'd be remiss not to point out the recent events have questions this legitimacy, and these are the events that we want to point out. And it's events like this that continue to remind us that we have work to do, both in the community and internally. We'll turn it over to Chief Sieber, who's going to go through the next few slides.
How are you? Sorry about that. My mic is muted and I can't get it off mute, so I'm not sure if that's intentional.
We can hear you.
Well, now I'm in the chief's office, so. Chief, just going to have a brief overview of the budget and try to simplify it if we could. Obviously, the reduction in our 5.5%, I'll go over that from the 2020 budget to 2021 is quite an impact. I kind of want to just kind of give you an overview of it. With it is 9 positions, police officer position we're losing. 2 of those are sergeants. One is with the neighbor engagement unit, the other one is with our special investigations unit, and 7 patrol officers. Next comes the civilians. A total of 7. You'll see the one that jumped up IPS 3 from 3 to 4, and that you'll see clerk raise reduce from 5 to 4. One of the positions that we have is someone that works here in the chief's office, and she's been doing what we consider IPS 3 status employment. She's did a lot with accreditation. She's doing more and more with redaction, working with the law department, and so on. We'd like to upgrade her to IPS 3A. I understand that the times right now are tough, but she really deserved it. In my opinion, I can get more into that questions. Anthony had touched about on this. This is basically the budget reduction that we're talking about right now. From 2020, 2021, I broke it down to 5 bureaus, which include the parking bureau and the animal control bureau. It's $1.2 million. What we don't see in there is the impact of PBA raises that, the contract that they had, 3 or 4 years or whatever the time frame was. So obviously that impacts it even further. Then the overtime numbers, I just want to kind of show you where we reduced it. Again, this is all within the budget itself. I just tried to simplify it. And you'll see $569,000 reduction in that the overtime. Now some of this, like court overtime, has been reduced naturally because of COVID. We're doing more video arraignments. It seems like the court is going down, but again, as the chief stated, we're gonna work within this budget, and these are tough numbers to make, but we feel we can manage them and still provide the service the city deserves. So. Then capital requests, I don't know if we're gonna get into those, so I won't touch on these right now. I just kind of give you a thumbnail of that. So if there's from there, I can actually turn over to any questions. The chief did touch on accreditation, and I know some of you were at our ceremony, but I do want to put that out there. It was a big task for our years, and a lot of members of the department worked on it. And so I just want to kind of give them a shout out to a job well done, and shows that where the police department is as far as the status of being performing to the level that New York State is really set for the bar that they set. So with that, I think we can go to questions.
All right, so there was one question, and then we'll get back to capital since we're doing that tomorrow. I'll just let you do that tonight. The one question is the same as for the fire department. Assuming we get federal money, what positions would you want to keep from being eliminated?
Obviously, all these positions, we don't feel that we had any luck within in any of these jobs. They're all vitally important. We have a couple of personnel that are actually still employed here. Obviously, we like to not have the lane, but most of these 16 reduction in jobs is our vacancies. Obviously, we have a couple of people there, but the officers, the police officer level, the chief expound on it, but obviously they're more vital, most vital to our operations.
Yeah, I think that first and foremost, 9 police officers, will certainly make a difference if we're able to replace that. And as Chief Seaver mentioned, certainly any officer that or any civilian that may be losing their job, we want to save that. Specifically on the civilian and our crime analysts, we've been doing a lot of good work with them, and they are very important to us. But that doesn't minimize any of the other civilians that unfortunately we're going to have to lay off. They don't serve an important role. As for the 7 police officers, or the 9 police officers, one specifically, our neighborhood engagement sergeant, is a very important position as we continue making strides in the community, especially administrating Schenectady Cares. A very important position. We're going to try to keep it going with this sergeant working the afternoon shift and doing some work on that shift. It's going to be a balancing act for us. So that'll be an important position. At some point, if we get the funding, we'd like to return in addition to the civilian positions and the open police officer positions.
Okay, and would you please send this presentation to everybody?
Absolutely. I did send it to Sam, but I could send it. If she has a list that she could send it, or I can do it.
Either way, that's fine.
It is copyrighted, so we do get royalties in case you make any money on it.
All right, so since we're gonna cover the capital today, or tomorrow, anyway, why don't we, we've got big feedback there. Why don't we do the police capital request, and if Chief Senecal, you're still on, we'll do the fire.
Mr. Rivera, Mr. Palomini?
Yeah.
I did have a question for the police chief. That's not my feedback.
No, it's from the police department, I think.
Okay. All right. So, this was a question that came up, I think it was yesterday. And so, I know that we got an email from Mr. Ferrari explaining the raises, but could you just give us, Mr. Ferrari, the detail on the raises for, let's see, it's the police chief and assistant police chief, I believe it is. And there was others. So, Ms. Ferrari, could you just you sent out the email, but in terms of those raises and why those raises, you said that in the email that they were contractual. Can you give us just the explanation on that for those who didn't receive that email and had questions about that? Mr. Ferrari?
I think you're muted, Anthony.
I'm sorry. The police chief and the police chief and the assistant chiefs, their salaries are based on the highest paid lieutenant. Is that correct, Chief Seaver? It's the lieutenant, the captain, which we don't have a captain, so it'll be whatever that salary would be. What had happened is when the contract was settled after we had passed the 2020 budget, we had to go back, as you recall. We did 2 resolutions. We did 2 resolutions. One resolution to reimburse the years 2018 and 19, and then we did another resolution, I think 1.6, almost $1.7 million for the 2020 budget. So what happens is, if you take a look at their budgets, at their salaries, what they were in 2018, you got to remember, they got the percentage increase in 18. I believe it's like 2%, 18, 19, 20, and then 21. That'd be 8.8% increase of whatever the highest paid the salary was. And what happens, it shows up on the 2021 budget.
So you're saying that the raises are contractual. It's not just the discretionary raise. That's why I want to make sure it's clear.
They're not contractual. It's driven by the contract with the PBA, but those positions are defined in the statute with the city code on how they're going to be paid in reference to the underlying officers that they supervise.
Thank you, Mayor. That's correct.
Mr. Palomeni,
Go ahead.
we are not required to give those raises, however, correct?
Yes, you are, unless you go back and change the code.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anything further?
Yes, Mr. Palmetti?
Go ahead.
The school crossing guards, chief, we're eliminating all the positions there, and I understand school is closed. I just think this is a very big mistake on our part not to put any kind of funding in there. Could we at least look at 6 months or even 4 months? Something in there. And I know we're going further, we're eliminating one of the parking enforcement officers as well. And those individuals usually took the spots when our traffic officers weren't available. And then, of course, Schenectady PD would cover when they're not available. So how do we address this loss of the school crossing guards, which I think is a very, very important position?
No, if I may, we obviously looked at it very closely. And right now we have 5 crossing posts that are continuing through to the end of the year, because that's where our funding goes. As we prepare the budget, obviously there's areas that we had to cut that, are tough decisions. We are working with the school district, having conversations with them in some meetings, how we can cover this otherwise. I don't have an answer for that right now, but we have looked at it as far as the parking attendant. That was a vacant position. Again, we reduced it at this point. Again, if funding comes in from the federal government or revenues go up, we hope to reestablish it, because it is a revenue generator. But at this point, we felt the cost didn't justify the expense at this point.
Well, I disagree, Chief. Chief, I disagree 110% with you on that. The loss of any child or accident with a child at any of these intersections is certainly worth any cost that we're putting in here. And I think even if we put in 4 months worth of guards, assuming the school district might be closed for the remainder of the school year, and maybe anticipate September of 2021 through the end of December to put something in there. But of course, then we got to fill those positions as well. I just think this is a very big mistake on our part to eliminate it altogether and not have any bodies at these corners.
Okay, well, just for clarification's sake, I wasn't talking about the crossing guards at that point. I was talking about the parking meter attendants. Sorry about that.
All right. Well, that makes okay, Chief. There you go.
I would, that's something that's obviously we are working with the school district to come up with a solution to this. I don't have one immediately. All I can tell you is that maybe for funding purposes, we can see how 5 crossing guards, but that's what we have right now, because it's only grades 6 and below, I believe, that are going to school. So we reach out to the school and the district and work with them on what intersections that kids would be crossing at and so forth. So we did take child safety obviously very seriously here and do the best we can. But from a standpoint, we're trying to look at other ways to provide that service still, and either through the school district or through the department somehow. So again, this was a exceptional, as Anthony said, as everybody said. I've been doing the budget, police department's budget since 2000, year 2000 for 20 years, except for 2 years in there. So 18 of the last 20 years. And it's the first time I've prepared 7 different budgets working with Anthony in finance, and it's no fault of anybody's, but we were just trying to crunch numbers in so many different ways to try to squeeze whatever we could out of it. So it's a very hard budget year. But we're not, obviously public safety comes first and foremost, but we also had to make some decisions at the time based upon information. And again, the program is good through the end of this year, and it might be just evaluating it, see if the 5 positions all we need through, let's just say, June of next year, and then fund it that way for minimum funding. But that's something we can talk about, obviously.
Can I ask a question about that then? So if we're talking about perhaps doing 5 positions, isn't that something we would want to put in the budget now? If 5 is the maximum, it sounds like the maximum number we're looking at, and that's what we're working at, and we know that some grades in school are open. I guess I'm not understanding why we're not at least trying to put those 5 positions in.
No, well, again, compared to someone's budget, we weren't sure how many positions would be here at that time. At the present time, at that time, we had 19 positions. But due to Central Park not being open, some other schools not being, the need is not there because students are not in session or doing virtually. We spoke with the school district, worked with them, and we reduced down to 5 positions. Again, we can, look at those positions again and see what the budget numbers would say. I'm sure it wouldn't be that much for 5 positions.
All right, Ms. Patrick.
Yeah, I think that I totally understand and respect everything that's being said, but I think that I appreciate the hard choices that some of these department heads are making, and the idea that they're prioritizing what they need to prioritize. I mean, I think we've all worked in organizations and situations where we had to, cut back on our budgets, and I think it's basically what's happening across the country. So I really respect that our department heads have made some critical decisions here on what they feel are the priorities. And I think that, I think just to talk about the crossing guards.
Hold on for a second, Carmel. Can the police department mute their microphone? The feedback's bad.
I actually have to plug in on the other side here too. Let me just walk around to the other side.
Whenever you're ready, Carmel.
Okay, sorry. I was running out of battery power here. Again, I was just saying that I know this is my first time going through it here, but I've certainly been in a lot of positions in a lot of organizations.
We lost you, Carmel. Okay. We'll see if we can get her back. In the meantime, are there any other questions?
Mr. Palamini?
Go ahead.
Yeah, my question for the chief. A3120404C, and that has to do with fee for services, county dispatch. I mean, I can recall that a year ago or two that we were told that this line is going to go down in terms of fee, and the police department was going to be taking non-emergency calls and dispatch it to patrol officer to take care of these and reduce this line. But what is happening in this year, this line is actually going up. Can Chief explain to us why is this happening and why those stuff that was promises is not in line?
Yeah, I can address that to some degree. Obviously, we have an agreement with the county for a certain percentage of what it costs for the dispatch center. Their operational costs that the city of Schenectady picked up, I do believe, is based on calls for service compared to the other towns. And with that said, they kind of set that budget, and we don't have much to say, as far as the budget's set. Now, I know that Anthony had some conversations with them, so he might be able to answer that more in depth.
I can actually weigh in on that a little bit. I did speak to the sheriff who told me that he understands that they did settle a contract over at the UCC. They had been having a lot of turnover, so the contract settlement did increase their salaries, and it really helped stabilize their turnover over there. So unless Anthony knows more information, I think that may be the reason for it.
Yes, Councilman Mucherman, that's exactly what it was. This is a number directly from the county. I think up to 48 to 49% of the cost, but they did get big raises because of the turnovers, in fact, and that's why the cost has increased. Believe me, we had a lot of words about that.
Yeah, I understand that, but just a follow-up question to the chief. I mean, Chief, you had discussed with us taking non-emergency calls, and those calls that was going to take and dispatch within the police department was going to reduce costs. What is in place to continue that discussion or to continue taking those calls?
I don't have the report in front of me, but I do. I can tell you that our calls for service have gone down. And what was explained before about reducing our calls has come true. We've done that. But nevertheless, the calls for service that come into the UCC, they are what they are. Those are people that are picking up the phone and they're making phone calls to communication centers. But on our end, the calls for service that we're handling have actually gone down. So we're finding efficiencies in the way that we're handling these calls, such as we're handling a lot more of them in-house over the phone, where we're calling up people and asking them some certain questions before we actually dispatch a car there. So we're able to reduce the number of calls that we're going on. We're finding some efficiencies there.
All right, so let's move on to the capital budget. It's at the end of your packet with the budget. And since we've got the police department on the line, we'll do them first. And I think Chief Senecal's still here, we'll do the fire capital budget as well.
I'm still here.
Capital.
Okay, I don't know if I can get that back up as the screen I had before, but we can talk.
Just a minute, I'll let you take control of the screen.
It wasn't on the PowerPoint, was it?
Yeah, it was.
Do you have it?
You could probably pull it up on your capital.
Yeah, if everyone could pull up on our budget.
Yeah, it is.
I guess we got it.
You got it now?
Okay, thanks.
I found it, right? Or who will? It's not even pulled up.
I can bring it up on the computer if you can't get it.
You can pull it up.
Please. My kids aren't here to help me, so I can't do anything.
All right, just a second. You should be able to see the capital budget now.
Yep, there's the police request right there. You got it. You can just make it a little bit bigger. Oh, there we go. Beautiful. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
We have 4 items that we have placed on the capital budget, and I'll get into each one one by one. But first, I want to say all of these 4 items were on last year's capital budget request, which was approved by City Council. Obviously, we didn't because of COVID and spending cuts. We didn't spend any capital money this year. So I'll repeat what they're for. The only one that really kind of went up was the vehicles for new vehicles. And again, I'll get to them as we go. The first one is we put on hold the signs, the speed signs for the cameras around the schools at this point. The second one there is we did an internal audit of our computers, our servers, our body cameras, in-car video systems. And we have a 3-year plan. That's why you see the $669,000 next to it. We broke that down to 3 years, $223,000. Really is to bring us back to, we were really headed towards state-of-the-art technology here, police department using it all for crime reduction strategies and so forth. And again, there's some stuff in there like body cameras. We bought body cameras a few years ago and 2.5 years ago, and we need to kind of keep purchasing some. Our in-car video system is okay at this point, but as time goes on, again, this is more of a 3-year plan. I can get more specifics if needed, but that's kind of what that money line's for. If there's any questions with that, I can answer now.
Is there any questions?
Yep, Mr. Palmetti?
Go ahead.
Yep, thank you. Obviously, I'm going to continue to fight for the school zone speed signs. These speed signs that you were putting off for 2 more years, were they with the solar power panels by any chance, or are they just still the battery powered, Chief? Do either one of you know?
Yeah, we looked at both of them, but we were leaning towards the solar. Yes.
Okay, so that 113,000 for 32 cameras, right? Those are the solar power ones. So what I'm going to offer to the council and really hope we can get approval is to knock down the PD vehicles to 9, and that would free up 74,000. And I actually drove around the schools today, and it looked like we can get away with 20 cameras. And again, Schenectady PD would certainly be the final overseeing the project, but if we take away one of the cars, just go with 9, that would free up 74 grand, and that would allow us to buy approximately 21 of these cameras. And again, I cannot emphasize the need for school safety for our youth. We've been very, very lucky with school zones. I know we've had the battery operated units that are out there, but as I understand, the battery has to be recharged every 3 or 4 or 5 days, whatever, and there's no equipment attached to it other than telling you that you're going too fast. But I'm assuming with these speed signs, they're actually going to have some data included with them, where we're going to be able to collect with the cameras as well. And solar powered really, I think, is the way to go. I really would going to urge my council members to try to push for a reduction of the 9 vehicles and push that additional 74 grand to at least get 21 of these signs that we've been putting off for my tenure on this council, which is well over 8 years now. So I would appreciate support on that. Thank you.
Any other questions?
If I can follow that up, though, I would like to, if we're talking about 20, if I can just get a fresh quote on that to know exactly how much the 20 would cost. I'm sure I can get it sometime this week.
Mr. Palomino, we're also asking about the vehicles.
We're doing, the capital budget through
Okay.
this.
So I do have a question. I see that last year that the 10 vehicles we were at 484,000, and this year we're at 700,044. Could you please explain that huge increase?
Yeah, it's actually, it should say 16 vehicles, because our fleet is now like a year older without any replacement of vehicles. We didn't double it, but it's actually should say 16. Eight would be hybrid police or interceptors or something compatible with that. We're trying to move our vehicles to more hybrid, and we have a whole a plan that we can share with you to kind of revamp the fleet over a couple of years. And obviously the end product is to save money and be more efficient, have cars that last longer. Right now we're putting on about 35,000 miles a year on a new car. So after 2 years, the car's 70,000+ miles on it. We have a whole strategy we put together last year that we'd like to start implementing. In there also is 4 Dodge Charger sedans. So obviously the Interceptors are a 4-wheel drive SUV type thing, and a Dodge Charger. So it's 12 marked police cars, if you would, in all. And then we have 4 unmarked police cars, just 4 Fusion. We put down Fusion, but depends on obviously bids and stuff like that. So we don't take the name brand into full account, but the idea is still there. And we go, we're trying to make a strong move towards hybrid vehicles. And so this would allow us to make that move. Again, the price has gone up because, not the price, our requests, because of being a year without any new vehicles, especially the patrol fleet, really impacts us severely. We've been doing great. We have a fleet manager, and they're really working on it and trying to keep it as well-oiled machine as possible. But as you guys know, wear and tear on the cars is tough in the cities.
So just to be clear, you're saying this number should not be 10, it should be 16?
That's correct.
Sorry about that. I had 10. I'm sorry. Chief, can you give the outline on that? I put that here. I don't know how
I don't know if you guys received the capital budget request worksheet, but it's spelled out on the worksheet of City Council. If you don't have it, I can send it to you.
Yeah, I got it.
Yes, please send that along. Chief, I think Commissioner Ferrari asked you to maybe could go through the 16 vehicles.
Well, I just did.
I'm sorry. I'm looking through my folder right now to see how I did that. I wonder if I did a cut and paste from last year.
Yeah, I believe the 10 would be a cut and paste from last year.
I see. You got, I took the first number. You had the marked units, and then the unmarked, and then the interceptors. And I just took that first number. Sorry.
Yep. Again, we're trying to make up for not buying any cars this year. I know it's a tough budget year, but we're just trying to keep the fleet healthy and keep it going without any breakdowns.
Sorry, Chief. I don't know how I did that. Like I said, I just picked up that first number at 10.
Sorry about
I
that.
can look at it right now. I'm sorry.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I just want to be clear. So the breakdown that we're going to get is going to give us the current fleet, what's old and what they're trying to replace. Is that what that breakdown is going to give us?
Well, I can get that, and I can share the study that we did for hybrid vehicles last year, because we wanted to try to obviously save gas and so forth, and save wear and tear on the vehicles. The numbers that we're trying to up is because we don't longer want to have a vehicle go. I'm just going to summarize a report I can send you. We don't want to wear and tear the cars 24/7. We get a new vehicle, and we're kind of forced to run 3 shifts 7 days a week. The idea is that we wouldn't run them 24 hours a day, maybe 12 to 16 at the most, and then you get longer retention out of a vehicle, less wear and tear on the vehicle. So we did this whole comprehensive report last year on it to, again, we're trying to revamp the whole fleet, because fleet's a huge cost to our department, to the city, obviously. We're trying to reduce it and hold these cars longer and hold them longer in patrol world. In our detective world, it's not as bad because they don't put the miles on the cars, obviously. Anyway, I'll get that out to you.
Thank you. All right, I think there was one other item, the firing range.
Well, no, we can get that. I have the mobile data terminals also. The MDTs are on there, as well as the tasers.
Okay.
Okay, and then the MDTs, again, this is something that's, they all have a shelf life, and then they're just kind of reaching their shelf life with it. So we want to purchase new computers for the patrol cars. With that said, we also want to make a move to a Panasonic type of a tough look, if you would, or computer for the cars. Right now, we have Panasonic body cameras, we have Panasonic in-car video cameras, and if we get the Panasonic computers, they all communicate with each other. The officers right now are required to tag videos, and there's a little bit of work that has to go with them every time they have a body camera. They go from a call for service. With this update, it saved them many steps, and obviously just expedites the time that they have to spend on the call. We're just trying to replace them because they need replacement. Also do it with equipment that obviously it's more efficient for the officer.
Any questions on those? Okay. What's next, Chief? The firing range now.
No, we have the taser.
I'm sorry. Wait, Mr. Palomini, I did have a question on the tasers. I thought he was going to go over that. So I'm showing that there's 45 that you're requesting, which is the same as last year, right?
Correct.
So currently, do all officers have tasers? 45.
We have 66 tasers right now. 40 of them are assigned to officers full time. 26 of them are pooled, so officers can use them from time to time. The idea is to outfit each officer with a taser, so no officer goes out without one. Because sometimes there's none available. Sometimes you have to go out and repair. Again, out of those 26, sometimes we have a few of them that are not operational. So this would assign one taser to each member of the patrol uniform unit.
So we currently have some, but this is giving every single patrol officer one, the 45. But you said we currently have some.
Yeah, we have 66.
So you have 66.
Yes, we have 66 of them right now. And we, again, 40 of them are assigned individually to officers, 26 of them are pooled, and we use those pooled cameras, share them throughout the department.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
What's next, Chief?
There is, I'm not sure where it's on you had mentioned the range.
It's right here at the bottom.
Is there another page? I think it's missing a.
It's right on the screen. It's right at the bottom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Along with that, though, there's a New York State portion of it.
Oh, it goes to the next page.
Yeah.
Okay, really? Okay.
Yeah, the portion of, yeah, so it's 200,000 borrow.
A couple of years ago, we received a grant, a state grant from someone in Santa Barbara, $450,000 to replace our range. At the time, we had got a budgetary quote from a couple different companies, and we thought that would be plenty of money for the range itself. Unfortunately, probably due to the age of our range, we had to do a lead abatement and do some other things with the assembly of the old range that cost was upwards of $125,000. Get an engineer on board, and again, it came quite the production that we didn't anticipate. And with that said, though, we, now there's some other things within the range. The cost just kind of was a little bit higher than we anticipated. It went even near the budgetary quote. We're really in need to finish the range, $650,000. $450,000 that is already funded. We're looking for $200,000 to assist in finalizing and finishing the range.
And I think there's one more item, the fire suppression system.
Okay, that Chris Wall might have to speak on.
Okay, are there any other questions?
I have one question, Mr. Palomini, regarding the firing range. So is this just the capital improvement of the actual range itself? Does this include the equipment that you need to bring the targets back and forth? Is that part of that?
Yes, we had a range with six lanes, if you would. That 6 lanes require that officers could, six officers be on a range at one time. It's total replacement of the whole range. But one of the big delays that we had in this whole thing was we had to actually get some engineers that are experts in the field as far as lead removal, because the amount of lead was there. We thought we could be able to contract it one way, and it turned out to be we had to pay for the actual lead removal. It's quite the process. They had to come here and kind of close off everything to get it all taken apart. With that said, we spent a lot more money on that than we ever anticipated. Again, the budgetary quotes that we had were not, to me, they were not as efficient as they should have been. So otherwise, obviously, through the grant, we probably would ask for more money. But so we are a couple $100,000 short to really finish. This would finish the range. It'd be operational after this.
All right. And does that include, and now this is probably like a strange question to you, but does that include purchasing the targets that you use?
No, that'd be under supplies. We take that out of our supply.
Okay.
But it does include the range equipment and what we need to complete all the trades.
All right, thank you.
And the other item, I'm not sure if this is something you'll speak on or someone else, the facility improvements.
Again, I'll refer that to Chris Wallen if we could, just because of he oversees the facilities.
That's fine. All right, thank you, Chief. All right, while we are here in Capitol, why don't we do the fire? The fire. And I think there was just one item.
Wait, just in the improvements, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it.
The police department took all the money, so we didn't get anything.
There you go. The training facility improvements.
Yes, the 650,000.
250,000, isn't it?
Am I looking at the wrong place?
Either that or I am.
Where are you?
Training facility improvements, correct?
Oh my gosh.
It's a SAM and it's paid for, but I didn't know if they wanted to speak about it.
It's the last.
For the most part,
The Mercy Training Facility Improvements. Yeah, the SAM grant.
so as far as the capital budget goes, we withdrew everything we had for capital budget because of the situation that obviously we're all under. We are replacing 3 pieces of fire apparatus that we understand are very costly. That cycle is due this year, so we withdrew our pickup truck. We have one pickup truck we use for fire scenes that's 20 years old right now. It's a 2000. So we didn't think it was unrealistic to ask to replace that, but we're gonna make that work for another year. Our thermal imaging cameras, are due to be replaced, which we're gonna get another year out of. Because we understand that, we are gonna take delivery on a new aerial. It's in the 5-year cycle like it has been for the last 20 years. So again, in cooperation and trying to basically get through this tough financial situation that we're in, we really don't have anything on the table for capital budget.
Mr. Palomini, I guess I'm not clear about the 650. That's the last line that says SFD training facility.
Yeah. Those are all the improvements to different facilities that we have in the whole city of Schenectady. They have a SAM grant for $250,000. This is additional money to cover any additional costs. We got the acoustic doors at Central Park. We got the improvements for stations 1, 2, and 4, and then also city facilities improvement. So we're trying to bundle money because we know that there's a bunch of improvements that need to be done at some of these areas, and Chris Wallen has actually all the details to that.
Any other questions? All right, well, that finishes what we have to cover tonight.
Mr. Palomini, can I just ask a really stupid question? Can somebody tell me what SAM stands for?
Oh, that's one of the state assembly member grants.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
All right, so can I have a motion to recess?
Motion to recess.
First and
Second.
second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Tomorrow we will cover general services, water, sewer, golf funds, and the rest of the capital budget. Have a nice evening.
5:30 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good evening.